thank you for being on today. I appreciate it. I'm
Of
glad we
course.
finally,
A long time collab that finally happened. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I'm kind of glad last time kind of fell through because I was feeling like absolute shit. Like I had a huge headache. I'm like, I can't do this. And then you're like, can we push it back or do it another day? And I'm like, yes, yes, let's do it another day. That worked
No,
perfectly.
it's fine because I remember like that day was just like chaotic because we were moving stuff too. So it all worked out for good. And plus, I'm pretty sure you didn't want to do a whole karaoke stream too. So
I was
it's a
down for
good
it.
plan.
I was down for it. I had a few people that were like, this is gonna be great to see, and I'm like, we just have to find like songs. I don't know what songs, and I can look like an ass singing songs I don't know, but but I think
I
Val's gonna be a lot of
mean,
fun.
yeah, it still worked. It still worked out for what we were planning anyway. I mean, but we'll plan another singing collab day maybe.
Yeah, I got to go through your list, and I'll learn stuff on guitar, and we'll do a whole lot of fun doing that.
We'll have something eventually.
So you're in
Yes,
VFX.
I'm in VFX.
I feel like that's like just a giant catch-all. But so how did you get into it? You went to school, I'm assuming.
Yep, I went 4 years of my BFA in a college called SVA. Shout out if there's anyone from SVA, but I don't think there are. I think it's very rare to find them, but if they're there, they're there. But yeah, I did 4 years of a course called computer art, which basically teaches you everything post production to production, basically. Um, so yeah, it's what I learned to basically do from there. But the one thing that got me into it was way before that, because I initially did not VFX, but I had like traditional film back in India, where I
Okay.
did classes on documentary and filmmaking and
You were gonna be in
Bollywood.
Bollywood?
Yeah, Bollywood. And it was a bit of, how do you say? It was a little too old school where the programs I was learning was from a textbook and I felt like I wasn't learning anything. So I learned that that wasn't exactly the place, so to say, to learn VFX, which is what the course initially was advertised as, which is, I guess it was called like mass media and videography. And they were like, oh, you learn blah 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 and VFX, and I was like, that's fucking cool. That means I'm learning the whole pipeline from film all the way to VFX. But in reality, we just ended up learning just like a textbook on how to use a camera, and I wasn't even holding a camera. So
That's hard to
I was
learn
just
at
like,
then.
yeah. So obviously, I was like, well, I'm not learning what I came here for, because I wanted to do green screen. I wanted to do all the crazy stuff that you would see now, which I guess we'll talk about as we talk about it. But yeah, so it took doing film in India and Bollywood, I guess, or Bollywood style film, and then finally finding a course that actually was meant for me in VFX and just learning. Yep, this is the field, and I love this, and I can spend time on this and still hate it and love it at the same time. But yeah, that's basically how I got in, or learned to get in
So you've
the
kind of wanted to be
industry.
in VFX for a long, like at a young age. You kind of were like,
Yeah,
I
literally
wanna make
since
those
I gra-
booms.
it's literally the first thing. Like ever since I watched Lion King, that's how long ago this was. Like 994
Oh
onwards. Let's go from
wow.
where I was born till now. I always wanted to get into movies and just making movies and things that were involved with movies. So obviously that drove me for a long time. But yeah.
So then you graduate, and I know like you've done some big stuff. You've worked on a couple of Marvel movies, right? And the Chip and Dale movie, which I was
I
surprised how
have
much I
worked
fucking loved
on
it.
one Marvel movie, one Marvel show, um, and then there's a bunch of other shows and companies I've worked with. But
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm assuming like are do you kind of work as more of a freelance, or did you work
Yeah, I
under
freelance. Or rather, I'm forced freelancing it because it's hard to find a staff job, especially in VFX. It's also since the pandemic hit, like it's been even more harder to find a staff job, and some of the staff jobs require like what 10 to 7 years of experience, which is it's gonna take me some time to get that.
yeah.
And especially as a freelancer, it's kind of like, oh, you kind of learn per studio, which is I have jumped to a lot of studios in a short time, because I started working literally freshman year of college,
Oh wow.
in a studio. So it was like literally I went into college and I was like, you know what, I'm determined. Maybe you will hit one studio as an intern and see where that goes. And I had the most shittiest reel at the time. All I did was I had this one shot that I did to prove that I could do any VFX was like, oh, let's put some dragons on the screen because dragons and VFX. I love dragons. Why would you not love dragons? So I took this whole thing where me and my friends went by a bus, and we took like a bus from like New Jersey somewhere, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit here and try to capture like this neighborhood in an apocalyptic thing, and there's a dragon that comes in. The most shittiest VFX I've ever done, whatever. But the point was to show that I could do it. So I did that, and that was like my first ever reel that I did, and like mini projects that were given to us freshman year, like thrown into basics and editing or whatever it was, threw that into a reel and said, okay, I can do this. And first studio that I got into was just an intern job, and I learned a lot in a very very short time. And then yeah, and then I kept moving from there on. But yeah, it's been about where are we right now? Because I started like 2016, I think. So like yeah, it's been a while.
Oh wow.
At least in the industry. I think 2016. Yeah,
Five,
2016.
6 years.
Yeah, about 6 years, but like jumping 6 years through the industry. Yeah, it's been like learning literally everything, not only just VFX, but like you learn who you want to work with, who you don't want to work with, which studios are good to work with. It's crazier because again, as a freelancer, you don't stick to one type of project, and you're not forced to do one specific type. Like I'm not forced to just do movies. I'm not forced to just do series or commercials, or I kind of get a wide range of everything, which is fun, but it's kind of scary when there's like months where it's just down and quiet. But um, other times it's a fun thing to to be a part of, at least to push your creativity to a higher level, I guess. So that's one way to put it. But
So
yeah.
have you gotten to make any more dragons?
Any more dragons? You want
Not
to know
yet.
where my evolution has gone from one dragon to another? So yeah, you learn that this has been a theme in a lot of my life. So I started with the first thing that I ever watched, which got me into VFX, was Pirates, like fully. I mean, of
Okay.
course, it was. There's before that, but the one that really made me watch and like was like, okay, this is it. This is the movie that I'm watching behind the scenes just to learn it and figure out what I want to do. Was the first movie of Pirates. It's the skeleton one. Again,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
early stages of VFX. It's not even the best that they could have done. But for me, that was like, oh my god, that's so fucking cool. There are skeletons on a boat. There's so many things going on. Um, and then obviously there's dragons in Harry Potter, and where my journey kept going from watching film every day rather than watching the film, I'd sit and watch behind the scenes, which is the one thing that my mother, she would get like DVDs, and you had those like little special behind the scenes of in every DVD box, right? So she would get me those just to watch because she knew that I was gonna only watch the behind the scenes. Um, so I spent hours like watching, oh, how do people do this, and what's the program? Nothing of that time at that time, obviously, I'm knowing what I'm doing, but I just was like, that's what I want to do. Um, but yeah, there was dragons in the fourth movie of Harry Potter, And I was like, damn, I want to have dragons on everything. I want to do dragons. That's so fucking cool. Um, and then my first, like I said, the first reel that I ever had, I wanted to have a dragon in there. So I went with the dragon. From there, I wanted to have a dragon in almost everything in some way. So there was a little like Easter egg in every place that I could do, or just have fairy tales and dragons and make believe creatures of some sort in whatever I worked with. So um, when I'm currently shut the fuck up, Jace.
Dragon.
Sorry, but like this man sitting right next to me. Anyway, but yeah, so I was like, I currently or recently, speaking of, since like I said, I started there, and then you reach now where I'm actually have worked on a dragon in Game of Thrones. So
Did you?
which
Okay,
is
when you
yeah,
mentioned
so
that, like your first
I
thing
got
was
to work
dragon,
on
I was like,
yeah, so it's kind of my evolution has moved to House of Dragons, which is crazy. It's full circle. But yeah, it's crazy because I worked on that, and even if you think about it, the Doolittle movie had a dragon there too, and that was like my first actual film that I worked on. Um, so it was kind of cool to just see like, oh, this is my progression. I have a lot of dragons and fairy tales and everything I do so far. So, um, yeah. But
every single movie is just dragons. You walk in, hey, we're gonna do this nice little like romantic comedy. Dragons.
this thing, look, if a movie doesn't have a dragon, it's not VFX, man. Everything else is real, apparently.